Hello, my fellow readers. This is iDark77777 with a new video. As always, like the video, subscribe to the channel, click on the bell for notifications, and honestly, leave a comment in the comment section. Dumb cats. Why does my mom have like 8 cats? Dang house. Leave a comment in the comment section below on your thoughts of the story. Not story, on the video. This ain't talking about the story. So I'm back with Paper Chopper. I mentioned in my review of Paper Chopper that I'm going to be doing the what would I fix a bit differently for this, and this is it. I'm going to systematically go through the entire story, telling what went wrong, what went right, and how to fix it. Oh yes, Paper Chopper. Oh god, you just don't. You just have just. I have no words for the other catastrophe you are. You're just something that exists in a nightmare that I wish could get away, but I can't. Yeah, I still gotta read the third story. That's over a goddamn million words. So let's just get started. So before, I have it structured as each chapter, so I'm gonna go through each chapter one by one. But before that, we have to at least set the stage for what's gonna happen in chapter one. I already mentioned the plot of the review of Paper Chopper, but I might as well just mention it here. The story actually starts with Bowser repeating the events of Mario 64. If you ever played that game or watched a video, it's opening cutscene. You can actually just watch Bowser. He busts into the Star Haven, takes the Star Rod, and then eventually it's the Star Rod to kidnap Princess Peach by having his castle lift under her castle. And one thing I do like about the story is the fact that the author goes out of their way to try to explain why the events are repeating themselves. It happened in this story happened in Crystal Stars, and I'm pretty sure it happens in Super. But I think this one at least makes more sense. I don't like how they attempted to repeat it. The explanations the author used to repeat it, Crystal Stars, that's very flimsy. But this one, I can at least understand, and I kind of appreciate. So the reason why Bowser does repeat and steal the Star Rod again is because Maquano, the main antagonist of the story, honestly does not care about the Star Rod. He specifically only had Bowser take the Star Rod because Maquano wanted stars, and that's the chaos clone, not chaos. And one of the things I actually liked about this story is how it handled Staris in comparison to how Sonic treated Chaos. Because Staris is pretty much just a Nintendo version of Chaos. They do the same thing. However, in Sonic Adventure, Chaos is kind of presented as being Eggman's Plan B. For those of you who don't know what the context of what I'm talking about, Sonic Adventure takes place on like 4 locations. It takes place on Station Square, Angel Island, Eggman's base, and the Egg Carrier. Those 4 main locations. And there's 6 stories, and the general plot is Eggman builds the Egg Carrier to basically nuke Station Square so he can have a big old area to set up Eggman Land. That's it. And Chaos, in the context of Sonic Adventure, is very much presented as Eggman's Plan B, like in the context of Sonic Adventure. Like he was planning on doing using the Master Emerald to power the Egg Carrier to nuke Station Square and cause as much damage and destruction. So he has a lot of land to set up Eggman Land. While he was researching how to use the Master Emerald, he came across Chaos, and it's like, I'm going to use this now. So yeah, Chaos was Eggman's fallback, more or less. While in Paper Chopper, Staris is very much Maquano's Plan A, and the Star Rod is Plan B. It's like, okay, my main plan is just give the Star Spheres to Staris and then have them get powered up. If Balder manages to take out Chopper, okay, that's fine. But I want to get Staris to power. And another thing that this story did better in terms of contrasting Chaos Staris is Staris is actually immediately interpreted as a threat. So in Sonic Adventure, you have 6 story modes. 7 if you count Supersonic, but not really. You have Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, Amy, Big the Cat, and Gamma. Chaos is barely around in like half of those stories. Gamma takes place before the rest of the stories even happen. So Gamma has like no bearing on the whole plot with Chaos at all. Big and Amy, they're only barely involved in the story because both of them had a Chaos Emerald, and the Chaos and Eggman's plan involving Chaos is giving him the Chaos Emerald so that we can get into stronger forms. But Amy doesn't even meet Chaos. As far as I remember, he doesn't meet Chaos. Amy is being chased by a different machine. And Big only really meets Chaos at like the very, very end of the story. And he just cares about Froggy. He's like, oh, Froggy! And the boss is literally just a fishing game. Froggy! Meanwhile, with Tails is more concerned with Eggman's A plot involving blowing up Station Square. That's why, like, when it comes to the plot, the whole plan with like destroying the egg carrier as well as the plan to blow up Station Square. That's not followed by Sonic. That's actually followed by Tails. Both plots, because he's the one that pilots the tornado. And the last mission of Tails' story in Sonic Adventure is him stopping the missile from blowing up. So in essence, Tails is more involved in that side of the story. Sonic gives absolutely no shits about Chaos. He just sees Chaos as another annoyance to stop Eggman. It's like, it fits Sonic's character, but it kind of diminishes what is essentially a god, like an actual god. Especially when you contrast it to, like, say, Dark Gaia. Sonic basically was partially scared shitless of Dark Gaia because he understood because the context of Sonic Unleashed was he knew how powerful Dark Gaia was, but he was still cocky that he could take it out, but he wasn't but he only got cocky once Chip turned out to be the Light Gaia, and so he had something that could actually counter Dark Gaia, so something he can actually hold his own against him. But with Chaos, it's just, oh, yeah, give him all the emeralds you want. Yeah, there you go. And this is kind of sad because Sonic is like the main character of the game. Well, not in Sonic Adventure. Sonic Adventure is more presented as a game centered around Knuckles. Like, Chaos is more connected to Knuckles than he is to Sonic. Tikal is more connected to Knuckles than he is to Sonic. The entire plot, with the exception of what Eggman is doing, it ties into the Echidna clans, which are more tied to Knuckles than they are to Sonic. Sonic may get like a lot of the flashbacks, but a lot of the flashbacks even connect somewhat to Knuckles. It's just more, it's just lore about his clan and his people. So there's that. And then you have Knuckles. Knuckles is the only one who actually is invested in trying to stop Chaos. He's the one with the only actual investment in and connection to Chaos, because Chaos is connected to his clan and therefore also to Tikal. And Knuckles, I believe, is like canonically the one that fights most of the forms. Like with Sonic, he fights base Chaos, which is canon. He fights Chaos 4, which I think in canon he doesn't fight Chaos 4. I think in canon, because Chaos 4 is weird because you fight him at 3 characters, I think canonically Tails fights Chaos 4. and Knuckles fights Chaos 6, which Sonic also fights Chaos 6, and then he fights Final Chaos. Tails fights Chaos 4. Canonically, he's supposed to be the person who fights Chaos 4 and Chaos 6, but he doesn't. But canonically, I believe Big is. I believe it's either. It's not. Like I said, I believe canonically Knuckles is the one that fights Chaos 6. Well, Knuckles, he fights Chaos 2, he fights Chaos. He would canonically fight Chaos 6, and then he technically, in the game, he fights Chaos 4. So he fights Chaos 3 times. What is a man? Sorry, that's the message I got. But yeah, Chaos is not really, despite being like the big thing, like, oh, the final boss, Chaos is really not interpreted as a threat to Sonic. Literally, 4 of the 6 characters don't nearly. 3 of the characters don't even know Chaos. Tails doesn't really care that much about Chaos. And Sonic kind of just laughs at Chaos, which fits the character, but it doesn't really give us that investment of him as a threat. Knuckles is the only one that takes Chaos seriously because Knuckles is the only one who actually knows a bit about Chaos. So he kind of knows what he's about. But with Staris is immediately, right from the off, presented as a threat. He's like, oh yeah, Bowser took Princess Peach and he has a Star Rod, but I don't care because I got Staris and he's coming after you. Also, Staris has like more personality because Staris actually gets like a more angelic form instead of like a weird Godzilla-esque form for Chaos. I never understood that. Why does Chaos' final form look like Belafonte from Godzilla? I don't know. But you also have like little moments where like Staris is like randomly carting around the TV with like Quano watching the whole thing. He's like, aha, he's gonna beat you. Now blast the TV so I can watch. And unlike Eggman, who has to find the Chaos Emeralds, Staris at like any time can just summon one of the Star Spheres and just go, ha! But he needs like the energy, so it's more. He's presented as a more immediate threat. Like even throughout the entire story, they're less worried about Bowser having the Star Rod and saving, but they're more worried about Staris just showing up out of nowhere and just trying to beat them up. So I do like that. I do like how the author handled this character better than how Sonic did like the actual Chaos. It's the little things. But now we get to. So now let's move on to the actual meat and potatoes, actually structuring everything. So we have Chopper goes to the Mushroom Kingdom for a vacation, finds Bowser beating everyone up, tries to fight him. Bowser summons the Star Rod, beats Chopper, sends him flying to Goomba Village. The Star Spirits say that you're the only one who could actually possibly save us because Mario is at the Bean Bean Kingdom during the events of Superstar Saga. That's what the interpretation is. They wake him up, and Chopper beats up the Goomba King. No, not the Goomba King, Popple, because Goomba asked him and said, "Hey, I need your help. This little whippersnapper bean guy, they stole my painting. Can you go get him?" And this is where I think the first change should happen. Get rid of Junior Trooper. Like, honestly, Junior Trooper does not need to be in the story. I said a big problem with the story is there's a lot of bloat. And this is our first opportunity to get rid of some of that bloat. Get rid of all the Junior Trooper fights. You already have a constant annoyance character that he's going to fight throughout the entire story in Popple. You don't need both of them. You can have Popple. You can have him when he gets Rookie, which is another original character. Get rid of Junior Trooper. And so we have follow the main way. Another thing you can actually interpret why Bowser's repeating a lot of things is Bowser is not known for repeating plots. A lot of these bad guys, with the exception of maybe Sigma, tend to don't really like repeating plots. Sigma's, I think, is the only exception because he has the same plan. He more or less has the same plan with the exception of Mega Man X4 and X4 and X7 are like, but the rest of them are just like, ha, I'm just gonna start uprising, haha, take over the world and corrupt and kill everyone, and also kill humans. Wily at least his angles are the same. He just goes about it in different ways. Uh, but yeah, Bowser probably only repeats the events. Puts with the same people, his partners from 64. More likely, he was. You can interpret that he's probably stressed on time, and so since he's not used to repeating plans, he just said, "I'm just gonna give them to the people I already threw them." It's like as like trying to rush everything. So you can interpret it as that. So then we get to chapter 1, which is the Koopa Brothers Park of Doom. Just replace a fortress with like an amusement park. That's this. And this is where we kind of get to start the changes. Let's have Chopper. He goes to Koopa Village because that's where he goes. They deal with the fuzzies. And this is where we should change Chopper. This will fix another problem with Chopper. I think Chopper as a character in this story, he has Kirby's Inhale, he has Sonic Spin Dash, he has all the abilities of Mario. I'm willing to let the copy ability slide. I'm willing to let that slide because I honestly think Chopper works best as a Kirby OC. Instead of being his own thing, have him be tied to the Kirby franchise. Instead of being a Mario story, it's a Mario and Kirby crossover. You can get rid of the spin dash. Honestly, the spin dash is actually removed in the sequel. He doesn't have that ability anymore. But he still has the Mario abilities. I think Chopper as a character would work best if he's kind of like a mirror image of Kirby. Well, Kirby can't really talk. He can communicate. He says Poyo, but his whole vocabulary is Poyo, but he means a lot of words for that. He's very, very skilled with the copy abilities. His most well-known ability is the sword, and he's very skillful with everything. But he's also very lazy. Like most of the plots involving Kirby, he doesn't really do much until after like the bad guys more or less did most of the thing. Like with Planet Robobot, like Kirby doesn't really get involved until after Popstar's already been all mechanicalized, and he's like, "Oh, look at this!" Or Kirby Squeak Squad, where Kirby only did everything because King Dedede stole cake. It's like he stole my cake. I must get the cake. But yeah, you can have Chopper as like an interpretate, like a mirror image. Like he can talk, he can communicate, he can still talk to Kirby. That's what happens in the sequel. Chopper kind of plays translator for everyone to Kirby. Chopper is more outgoing. He's not lazy. He's overly energetic. He's a kid. Have him act like a kid. Still have him have like the cool kid mentality, but still kind of like have him like somewhat wise, like a streetwise sort of thing from living on like a jungle planet for so long, and have him lose the spin dash, have him lose the jump and the hand abilities, have him keep the hammer. Why keep the hammer? Well, it would fit the mirror image. Kirby's most notable copy ability is the sword. Very fine, very precision heavy. As a balance that, Kirby can absorb abilities much more easier, and it's harder for him to lose the ability to permanently lose his abilities. But his abilities are much stronger. Meanwhile, with Chopper, he has access to any of his abilities that he sucked up at any time. However, not only is he not really as flexible with them, which means he doesn't have has finite control for them as Kirby. In essence, the mirror image, Kirby's more about precision. Chopper would be more about just brute forcing everything, and that would be exemplified by his default ability being the hammer. He already has the hammer by default. He gets it. He gets upgraded. Just keep the hammer. Have it be his main base ability, like Kirby's with the sword. And so whenever he wants to, he can literally just get he can get the ability anytime. He can choose any ability anytime, but at the consequence that when he loses ability, he defaults back into hammer and he can't transform into another ability for a little bit. So we got that. Just have him be a child. Have him be the opposite of Kirby. Have him be the same species. This story, and before you say anything about Kirby is part of Dark Matter, this story was made before Star Allies was everything. So we're going under the interpretation that the author, if the author would reboot this, Kirby's going to be a species and not part of Dark Matter. So we're working with that. So Kirby goes to the Koopa Village. Default ability is Hammer. Runs into Koopa. Koopa has her shell stolen by a beam Fuzzy. So you can easily do this as like since Maquano's like messing with the Star Rot with you can actually excuse the introduction of copy abilities into the Paper Mario world by saying that Maquano mess with the natural order by waking up Staris and taking the Star out again. Everything is like getting these unnatural abilities. Or you can easily make it a product of like just Chopper kind of showing up and kind of warping everything. You can just do something. You can do something with that. Koopa asked Chopper for help. Help me find the shell and I'll help you out. He beats the fuzzies. He beats the beam fuzzy. Gets the beam ability. Koopa decides to help him out. And this is where we change something else. Lower the amount of partners. There are 12 partners that Chopper gets in this story. He gets Koopa, Bruce, Parakarry, Bao, Chopper, Yosho, Mallow, Ghoster, and wait, that's 9. Does he get? Hold on. No, okay. I just went to check. I forgot he gets KZ as well. That's 10 partners. That should be cut in half. That way you have better chance to develop a sort of team dynamic sort of thing because because you can parlay that into separating Kirby and Chopper as well. Kirby is more of someone who wants to rather go on its own. But Kirby's like, if I get friends, I'll roll with it. Like in Star Allies, like the whole reason why Kirby was able to get allies is because Kirby needed the Jamba Heart Highness and the Three Sages were powerful enough that Kirby kind of needed backup to help them fight. So you can make the interpretation of that. With Kirby 64 Crystal Star Shards, Kirby mostly just did everything on his own, and Kirby just got help got healing from Adeline, some minor stuff that Kirby wouldn't be able to get through with Candidity, and a ride or two with the Waddle Dee. So you can make that. Same thing with like Return to Dreamland. The whole situation, Magolor basically had told Kirby you need to get help and stuff like that. So you get that. And even then, Star Allies, you literally don't. I don't think you need Kirby to play Star Allies. You can beat the entire game without playing as Kirby in Star Allies. I think. I haven't played Star Allies, so I don't really know for sure. Don't quote me on that. Excuse me. So the first partner should be Koopa. Establish Koopa as the team mom character, as a team mom, and have it go from there. Have Koopa and Chopper go through the entire part. They beat the Koopa brothers by themselves. No Bruce. Bruce should make an appearance as when they get to the park, have them be like innocent, like a bunch of innocent Koopas and Goombas and Bob-ombs there. They're just goofing off. You could have all the goofy shenanigans involving the Koop brothers and Yellow kind of messing things else like Yellow. No, I'm sorry. And you have the fight play out the same way. I just think Bruce is not really needed. I mean, you can add Bruce, but the only thing Bruce would bring to the table is foreshadowing for Bomb that would be in the sequel. That's it. So that would change. The only thing I would change is just keep default for this chapter is just don't have Bruce, just have Kupla, have her be the team mom. By reducing the amount of partners the Chopper has, you can grow the characters that you do have and have them be a kind of group dynamic. And Kupla needs more than just wanting to have a tough show. Like she needs more development over the course of the story. So we move to Dry Drive Ruins. Okay. First off, did this story need to be at the Dry Ruins? I get. Okay, fine. I'm willing. I'm willing to parlay this. You can have over the fact that once Mario, the story actually makes an argument saying that once Mario left, got the Star Spirit from Toot and Koopa, the whole thing collapsed. So and Mustafa basically got the stone and basically returned home. That's fine. I can see that. So at the end of the day, I wouldn't change much. The only thing I would change is don't have Parakarry join Chopper. I honestly Parakarry is just you could have Parakarry help him across, but I think since you're gonna have Chopper be a sort of mirror image to Kirby, so he would be light, he would know how to jump. You can easily just have some way of Chopper being able to make these jumps himself because Meta Knight can fly. It's implied in the early games that he's technically same species like Kirby again before the whole revelation with dark matter showed up with Void. Kirby can float. You can think of something like you can have him. I don't know. He has Koopa. Koopa being like a buff tomboy as could probably just make the jump herself. Pick up Chopper, just jump, do the jumps. You can do that. But other than that, just keep it as is. Maybe have them help Parakarry out, but that's fine. Bubble Bubble. Okay, so the first half of Bubble of Chapter 3, let me just get rid of this, should stay the same. Basically, Bao tempts Chopper to come into forest with the Star Spirit. Chopper comes, Bao basically gets smitten with him. That's fine. I'm okay with that. And everything before they enter the fortress, I'm okay with. However, I think it should have changed the with the layout. I know that there is a slight change in the layout with Bubba Blubba, but I think since Bubba Blubba is more of a chef, if I was rewriting this specific part, I would say when they get into the fortress, have Bubba Blubba be a more active threat. Like you can make the fortress bigger, or you can keep it the same size, but have Bubba Blubba be more of an active part. Instead, he just goes to sleep. They find the key. He opens up. Popple kind of catches him. I would also add a part where Chopper and Popple kind of fight it out while they're being chased by Bubba Blubba. That's another thing on offhand. That's another thing I would change. I would get rid of the turn-based combat. If we're gonna do the Kirby, have Chopper be like Kirby, have it be the Kirby fighting style. Switch it from the Paper Mario to Kirby. You could have the curses when you get the tiles in your door. That's fine. You can have all these quirky things involving the paper. I just honestly think switch to a Kirby fight style, like Papo constantly doing all his things. Like we have Forbidden Land to kind of branch off with now. Like we have Kirby in the Forbidden Land to branch off in like a 3D Kirby thing. You can do that. If you want to do the titles, you can actually do the titles at like the end, like right before each chapter, and we get to the interlude. You can have all the titles for like any enemies you want to talk about. You could do a lot of things with the titles. I actually think the titles add a lot of personality to the story, so I say keep the titles, but add them at the end of the story, so that way you can see like, oh, here's all the unique enemies that I created, or the enemies that appear in this chapter, so you could throw in some personality of like Toadsmith, or in the sequel, not Goombella. I'll get to that when I get to the sequel, but not in this video. But yeah, switch out, get rid of the RPG. Have it be more like Kirby. Have Bubba Blubba be a more active threat in this store, in this chapter, rather than Tubba Blubba. It makes sense for Tubba Blubba because it's kind of interpreted that he sleeps a lot because he has depression, because he's being bullied a lot by Bao and Booze. So it makes sense that he would go to sleep. However, it really makes no sense for a chef to really do it. You can make the argument that, yeah, even at the end of the chapter, Bao kind of says the same thing about Bubba Blubba, but instead have it be that Bubba Blubba. That's such a tongue twister. Be a more malicious guy, like, oh, he's going after the Booze because of all the times they bullied his brother. Like he found out they were bullying him, or Bowser said like, oh, they bullied your brother. It's like, oh, I'm gonna come after them. He sends Bubba on a vacation. He takes over the castle. He starts kidnapping Booze. He starts cooking them. He starts eating them. Nom 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 nom. And finally, for this chapter, have Bao join the team. Why is that? Well, Chopper needs a number 2. To differentiate himself from Kirby, he needs a solid person to kind of work off him. And I think Bao, out of any character, works off Chopper the best. To the point where I would actually have Bao work with Chopper in the entire trilogy. I'm going to say that. Have Bao go with Chopper to Rootport, get the Crystal Stars. There you go. You got your 2 partners. And same thing with Super. Like, based on what happens to Super, I would say lump Bao with Chopper then too. How to do that? So yeah, that's it with this chapter. Chapter 4. They go to the Shy Guys toy box, which has been transformed into a base for the Type C series, and where he gets Chop War. He needs to get Chop War because it really makes sense. So we got Koopa, we got Bao, we got Chop War. We're gonna get 2 other characters. Have this story pretty much to stay the same. I honestly don't see anything too much changing about the story. Now we see stuff change. There's only, instead of 6 characters, there's only 4. So you have more time to develop Koopa's character. You have more time to develop Bao and Chopper's relationship. You have Chopper kind of talking more about himself and why he changed. And of course, but honestly, outside of that, I wouldn't really change at all. So this chapter can just not change at all. The Yoshi Island thing. Simply not have him get Yoshio. Yoshio is a completely garbage character. Should not have been around. Outside of that, it's fine. Don't have anything to say about it. Let's just move on. The Powerpuff Girls. Oh boy. Oh boy, what do we do with this? Okay, so first off, honestly, the first thing that should be changed is, first off, Chopper gets KZ, mainly because I think you can make an argument that Koopa would be able to carry everyone off small gaps. But on big gaps, you need someone like Casey. Not to mention, like a lot of there's that this part of the story is like more important than you might think. I would say if you change the story, play up more of the quirks of Townsville, like have them explore more. Maybe introduce them to more of the Rogues Gallery. Of course, you have Kojo Pete and the weed boys. Um, have them instead. The only thing so the big thing I would change about this chapter is Lacalar should not have the Star Sphere. What I think should happen is they immediately go to Lacalar, his kingdom, finds out that the Star Spirit there was stolen. It could be from by Kojo Pete. And so they have to try, and so they basically travel the city of Flowersville to try and find Kojo Pete. Kojo is using the power of the Star Spirit to commit crimes. He beats down Blazy and Tazy, and then so Casey, along with Chopper and the group, they manage to successfully take down Kojo Pete. They get the Star Spirit from him. That also gives a reason for Kojo Pete to continuously try to hunt them, because later in the story it revealed that Kojo teams up with Wano. This gives an actual out for Kojo to team up with Mokwano, because now he got his ass whooped, not by a bunch of superpower girls, but just some random boy that just showed up in the city and just hit him with a hammer. Gives a more logical reason for him. That's what I would change about this story. Star Spirit on Ice, wouldn't change anything about it. Of course, at this point, you don't have Junior Troopa, so you don't have the Junior Troopa fight. That's it. Just keep it as is. Yeah. Chapter 8, same thing. Wouldn't change anything. Of course, at this point, we only have about 5 partners. We have Chopper, Kupla, Kupla, Bao, Chopper, and Casey. You have the 5 people. And that's how it should be for these 2 chapters. Again, you'd be playing pretty much into the whole into it playing a lot like the original Paper Mario. That's fine. Keep it as is. And then we get to the new things. Oh. Ignore that. I goofed. Just ignore that. You didn't see a bearded man. You didn't see him. Okay. So where was I? God dang it. I completely forgot. Sorry, that's my bad. Okay. So we're on the new content. We're on chapter 9, where they go to Toad Frog Swamp. Yeah, Frog Swamp. They meet with Mallow. Mallow shouldn't join them. I honestly think if you're gonna copy Mario RPG, this was honestly not the way to do it. I think other than having Mallow not join, I think he should show up here, help, because Poison Piranha basically destroyed the swamp, so you can have Mallow stay a little bit to kind of help the swamp get more life. Say you need to go on your own at the end. Go find your people and be happy. And then later, when they go up to Nimbus Land, Mallow joins them again for that chapter. But yeah, nothing should be changed about this aside from Mallow not joining. Haunting Yard. Okay, this is where we're gonna start getting the more major revisions again. First off, Ghoster should not join. If anything, Ghoster should actually be the boss here. I think unlike Ghoster has a relative named Hontos. He's actually the villain of this chapter. You guys should see his name right here, Hontos. So You could have it be sort of like the whole situation with Bao, but instead of the Star Spirit kind of uh, the Star Spirit kind of escaping on its own again, you could have it that Hontos and Ghoster they keep stealing the star from each other, so they have to so you can easily do like a sort of backtracking thing. Keep going to where Hontos is. They keep pranking each other and constantly trying to get the stars. Like, aha, my star, no, my star, my star, my star, my star, my star. And you can have it be like a entirely family feud sort of thing, where they come up with like a ridiculous situation to try and get them both. They realize it's like, oh, we got out pranked by a non-ghost. You want to get him, brother? Let's get him. And they both bum rush him. So they basically beat Ghoster and Hontos. Ghoster's like, I would. You could even make the tease like, hey, do you want to join us? Ghoster's like, maybe, but yeah, yeah. You could parlay like when they lose, they get out pranked. Ghoster takes it well. It's like, oh, good job, you out pranked me. But Hontos, he doesn't take it well. He takes the star. He goes to the castle. They actually takes him to the castle. Then they fight him, and then Ghoster's like, well, I'm gonna stay here and just basically run this town. Ta-da! And then prank them before they go. Yeah, there's that. That's what I would change about that. Star Heaven. Gino's gonna be the final character. Keep it as is. Nothing needs to be changed. I honestly think this is fine. Nightclub Casino. Okay, spoiler alert. The rest of these are going to be completely different. Nightclub Casino. So this is just basically a gigantic casino. I honestly think like okay. So they go to a casino, and who else would be there but Ashley from WarioWare? I like Ashley from WarioWare. I think Ashley should be a more annoying, a bigger threat in the story because all she does is contribute to the boss fight of this story. She basically makes a potion. She accidentally spills the potion, and the potion kind of goes on the Goomba, and he kind of turns into a monster. And she just watches from the sidelines. I think okay. So here's how I think this chapter should play out. They go to the casino. They try and figure everything out because now it's only 6 people instead of the 10. It's only 6. So they're trying to figure out how to get there. They go to a lumber mill. They actually run into Ashley there. They run into Ashley, and then they also run into Bob. You can have it that the lumberjacks they're only have like enough tickets for like one group because if they give to one they won't be able to give to the rest, but they have to compete in like physical challenges. So you can have like a physical mini game sort of smorgasbord. Ashley says, nope, I know how to get to the casino myself. I need to go by. And she flies off. She goes to the casino, sets up shop in the attic. Meanwhile, Bob, he wants to be a boss. Yeah! Beats like an obnoxious guy. He's like, well, I may not be a physical fighter, but I can certainly do these physical challenges. Yeah. Have him be like the most obnoxious dude bro ever. But Chopper beats him in like physical challenges because instead of actually doing the challenges, you can have Bob be like a complete other schmuck, and I just keep posing and both things like, oh, yeah, I did it. Yeah, I'm gonna get so ahead. Yeah, I did it. Wait, what? What? You were just flexing the entire time. Let me get on my motorcycle. Yeah, brother. Flex. And so after Chopper wins the mini games, and they basically humiliate Bob to the point where he can't flex anymore. It's like, no, I lost the ability to flex. Like, you can have him be like, he pulled him also when he can't move anymore. It's like, no, I can't move. Well, at least I can still flex. Now I can flex. They go to the nightclub casino. They meet up with the Weedy boys. You have them do like a big smackdown. Like Gino would be strong enough to beat one of them. Casey can hold her own against one of them, and then the rest of them just gang up on the last one. And they basically fight it out. It comes to a stalemate. They realize, and we have bigger plans. Like you let the weed boys kind of do their own thing. They just willingly leave instead of just, oh, you beat us, so we're gonna take our stuff and leave. Nah, we're just gonna mess with you a little bit. Oh well, we messed with you. Goodbye. They get to the casino. They show their tickets. The bouncer denies the tickets because like you're minors. You legally cannot come here. 21 or older. Kupla, since she's a teen mom, she can probably just act like a mom. Since she'd probably be acting like the mom, the bouncer could just like, all right, you can go in. It's like, it's like, why? Isn't she your mom? Yes. Bao would be able to sneak in. Gino, being in essence a living god, the bouncer could just be confused about him. It's like, who are you? I work for your gods. Prove it. Oh, yeah. Okay, you can go in. So at this time, only Koopa and Gino would be able to get in. Koopa, Gino, and Bao, because Bao can just sneak in. So Chopper, and Casey have to find some way to actually. They go in through the attic. Like Casey goes in the attic. They run into Ashley. Ashley locks the door. It's like, hey, I need your help. I need to make a potion. It's like, we're not gonna help you with this potion. You're an evil witch. It's like, no, yes, I'm a witch, but I'm not evil. Maybe. Keep Ashley's allegiances vague because Ashley is just a very inherently selfish character. Even in WarioWare, her whole thing is she doesn't like in WarioWare Gold, where where a rival company shows up. Ashley doesn't stay because Wario is a good person. No, she only stays because Wario lets her have the free time to be able to work on her own potions. So it's like he gives her all this money. She has to put in the bare minimum so that way she can focus more on her potions and her sorcery work. So it's like that's why she stayed, not because she wanted to, because it's more self-serving her to stay with him because she gets to do her hobbies more. So you have the attic be gigantic compared to the casino. They go around. They basically find her ingredients. They give her the ingredients. She uses the wand to open up into the casino. Have it be multi-story. And so then Ashley, being Ashley, she spills the potion onto the casino itself and spreads it all across the casino. So now all the machines, all the poker chips, all the coin slots, they all become alive. They all become monsters, and they all start attacking everyone. And Ashley's like, it's like, okay, we got to beat up Ashley. It's like, no, I'm just watching to experiment. Have Ashley be a constant thorn at their side because they're wondering why aren't you being affected? Because then you can make the argument that, like, Bao can be affected because she's a ghost. Koopa can't be affected because reasons. I don't know. Better yet, have him fight Koopa. Like, since Chopper's out of this world, he's probably immune to this sort of thing. Chopper is a machine. Casey is like superpowered, so she probably has some kind of immunity. And Gino is basically works for God. So all of them would have excuses except for Casey. So right before the final boss, the Goon Boss, they fight like a monster. Casey, they manage to beat her and cure her using Chopper using fruit ingredients from having to go on his own. Have Chopper fight Ashley, more or less just deal with her. It's like, oh, you're trying to stop my experiment. Yes, I must find this cure. No, I'm gonna stop you. You can't stop me. Why not? Because I'm a robot. People, pew, 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 pew. Hey, my pew, my broom. They cure Casey. They confront Goon Boss. Uh, Ashley, furious, takes up what's little potion left, spills it on Goon Boss. He transforms into a monster. They duke it out while Ashley's cheering up the boss, like, yeah, beat him up. She gets knocked out by Koopla. Just have Ashley Coop knocked out. They beat Goon Boss to get the Power Star there, and they leave. And so we move on to the ocean level. I actually, excuse me. I like the setup for the story because it's kind of been vague throughout the entire story.
What is a man? A miserable.
Fabric. Throughout, like, anytime they went past the coast, they always saw a ghost ship in the distance. I thought that was really cool. Sort of like Pirates of the Caribbean-esque flavor. So I think this chapter shouldn't change that much until they actually get onto the ghost ship. Instead of being evil, you could have the villain. What was his name? Bonebeard, Captain Bonebeard. He's kind of wised up to what Bowser and Baquano are doing. It's like, instead of trying to confront him, they constantly try to avoid Chopper throughout the entire, and Chopper has to try and stay on the ship as long as possible to confront Bonebeard. You can easily parlay like a ghost sort of theme, like they're all ghosts. They only show up at night or when the sun is not shining in the shade, or like for instance when it's very cloudy. So you can easily parlay that is them just trying to chase the ship and get on the ship long enough for them to confront Bonebeard. Them going to like a pirate island, that really doesn't work. I honestly think the whole them going on boarding the ship and doing that whole motif, I think that works better. You have Pirate Chopper. You could have, in essence, you would have Bao kind of blow the whole thing. Like, she uses her power. Like, she can use her power of being a ghost to basically forcibly tangelize the entire ship. So Chopper has to take down all the pirates with Bao incapacitated. Like, they all have to fight them. You can do a lot of cool stuff. I just honestly think it's kind of a waste to have you go on the ship goes bye-bye. And then they go on an island where they confront him. I think it's kind of a waste. It's fine, but this thing shouldn't have been there. Then they go to Nimbus Land. Nimbus Land, that should be the same. They're fighting Valentina. I get it, but not really. So I would honestly just kind of keep this, make Valentina more. I would say make Valentina more sneaky. Like, she's like the story makes it very clear that Bowser, she's actually not an official minion of Bowser. She just showed up saying, I want to work for you. And so Bowser's kind of just shrugs and deals, okay, and just okays it. Have Valentina have her own plans instead of fully working for Bowser. You can pull the whole, I work for whoever I think is stronger, so I only really work for Bowser because he's stronger than me. So there's that. Have her be more sneaky. Have her, of course, they get joined up by Mallow again. They go up to Mallow, find out he's Nimbus royalty. Have Valentina actually kill the parents. I honestly think that would make more sense because we're going for a more Kirby bent version of this, and Kirby gets really dark sometimes. So you can easily parlay in, like, instead of Valentina getting rid of instead of hiding the parents, she kills the parents. And throughout the entire fight, when Chopper fights Valentina, fights her on her own because Chopper gets Dodo to basically yeet all the partners away and keep them busy and keep them and basically make them lost while Valentina and Chopper are going at it. But they slowly join up again. Of course, KZ would probably be the first one to join. She'd be the fastest. And they eventually overwhelm her. And yeah, like have this be a more dark, just a more darker version of this chapter. Then we get Clara, where they go to Chopper's home planet. I think this is fine. It's basically just a gigantic siege, like a planet-wide hunt for the last Power Star, which is held by Flyer, who's being mind controlled by Mequano. I think that's fine. I actually have no problems with this chapter. I think this should stay fine. This should be it. If anything, I would probably make this chapter longer because this was the first chapter the author written. So I think having a more detailed version of this specific chapter, kind of going more in depth and everything, would be interesting. And then finally, we have them when they go to Mequano's Castle Bowser again, and they go to the Star Road and all that, and they fight Mequano. I think this one's fine enough as it is. Yeah, I think this one is fine enough. Like I don't like the only thing like at this point, so much stuff has changed that by these two last chapters would already be completely different. Because there would only be like 6 characters. They would have their own dynamic. They would all team up and work together. You could have all the battles the same except for the Kojo, including Kojo Pete. You can have Kojo Pete actually mind controlling. That's one thing I would actually change about this one because one of the chapters has them fight a mind controlled version of KZ's sisters, Blazy and Tazy. Honestly, I would remove that and actually have them fight alongside Kojo Pete here. Like, ha! Now I, Kojo Pete, have the undisputed pleasure of having the Daisy Flower Girls beat themselves to death. Anti-cresses. God. God dang. Whoever did Mojo Jojo's voice in Pop Girls must have had a bunch of lozenges on hand. But yeah. But there's one other thing I would change, and that is get rid of the Mario Party chapter because there is a chapter where they play like a game of Mario Party. I just think if you're gonna do like a Mario Party chapter, make it an entire story. Like you can easily have it like since Gino being the host, Gino like invites him and say, hey, how's as a celebration for thinking? I want to invite everyone to a game of Mario Party. And the only person who probably wouldn't join would be like Bao. Because Bao's like above that sort of thing. You know. Or no, not Bao. Koopa, basically she wants to just they offer whoever doesn't want to join to be the person to give out the star. Koopa offers to give out the star, saying this is a kid game. Ta-da. And you can have Chopper, KZ, Bao, and Chopper play the game. You know, there's that. But that'd be the only part of the story I would change, simply because there's really no reason. I mean, the only reason the Mario Party chapter exists in the story is to foreshadow Bombette being in the sequel. That's the only reason that chapter exists. To foreshadow the fact that Bombette's going to appear in the sequel. In this story, granted, I will spoil this. I am going to have Bombette appear in the sequel as a partner, but I don't think. And I think foreshadowing her here makes sense. So, there's that. So,
outside of that, I wouldn't change anything else. Like, yeah, I think that's it. I think that's good. So I will see you in part 2. This has been fun. I can't wait to do that. I'll see you next time.